Dakota White, CPD log, Unit 28 and Unit 43. So today we had the first rehearsal for Stags and Hens. For me personally, I felt that there could have been a lot more improvement in the work that I was maybe using practically. But first of all, as a cast, I think we were quite solid. We did have a couple of changes to cast today, and that affected the performance and production as a whole very positively. There was a lot more sort of stamina within the group. More jokes using skills such as improvisation were being lifted, and the whole energy of the piece just completely lifted, which is great. And it gives other people, especially myself, to play off of. There was a couple of scenes that there was one scene with Frances that I have at the end that I actually have to kiss her, but the actress that I was performing with, I was actually giving me a lot more than before, so because of this, I was then able to really interact and give my character a really good thought process, which was positive for me. I didn't do any physical warm-up today prior to the rehearsal due to the fact that I didn't have any time. But to mentally prepare myself, I went over the lines quite a lot in the scenes I had before, just to ensure that I knew what the scene was and what the motives behind the scene were. And I also looked into things like how to use voice. And as well as that, I used a vocal warm up. When I wasn't on stage, I was in fact actually trying out. Especially, the main thing with the performance is a Liverpool accent. So I was just getting before each scene back into that accent, which I feel is good and stable at this moment in time, but could use a little bit more work. For instance, I could use more of a twang on some bits where some parts I can't. So that's definitely something I should look into. Movement wise, I've actually been exploring today and using improvisation as a way of exploring how my character would move and how it would talk. Cav is quite a down to earth person, very artsy. Because of this, I think he uses hands quite a lot to explain things. And he likes to get it out, so he does this a lot and uses his hands, and he doesn't necessarily point, but he uses his hands to figure out how and where what he's actually talking about. So because of that, I use the hands as a sort of way of improvisation. I'll tell you what, it did work, which I'm quite happy about, so I'm thinking about exploring that maybe in the new rehearsal as well. To develop my role for improvisation skills, I used things like expressive skills and vocal skills that really pushed and sort of dropped the barrier of how I can, as an actor, really push the character out more. The main thing I looked at today was actually how to walk as my character, because I think that's quite a big thing for me. Is I don't sometimes walk as myself. I don't actually walk in the character, so I found his foot space and then how he uses that as a sort of foundation and grounding sort of space, just to really go in depth into how he would actually walk. He's actually quite upright. He's not really slumped much. He's slumped in the shoulders and the knees, but the neck and back are actually completely straight. And that's something that I've looked into. So yeah, but for the next rehearsal, I think I'll look definitely into more improvisation skills. And I should ensure that I do a physical warm-up as well. CPD log evidence. Today was the final time we could rehearse in the in the rehearsal room. Sorry, we have been for a long time rehearsing with a marked-up stage, so that just sort of putting tape down on the floor. But once next week comes, we'll be able to really get a feel for the what the stage is going to be like and the depth and that kind of thing. And then I think that will also bring out our characters more, which I'm looking really forward to. Looking at movement today was my main sort of subject that I really wanted to look into. It was mainly more about how I'm standing, because a lot of the time in rehearsals I'm actually aware of how I'm standing, but in a sort of definitely not a positive way. I'm looking at the way that it's more it's sort of linked to the character. So I've been looking at things like stance, and then maybe looking at sort of movement within the hips, and then um, the the knees as well. I found that one thing my character does quite a lot is bend his knees, and jiggles them quite a lot. And I think that's just because he's always ready for kind of action, and Cav's always ready for that kind of because he's always looking for. I think his main objective is art, so he's always looking for a new way to look into art. So he's always looking and always running about and stuff. So he's quite a lively character. Although it's naturalistic acting, he's a very lively and almost not animated, but definitely a fun character to play because he is so lively. But otherwise, movement, I found that also one of the things I do as well is cross my arms. And I'm aware that other actors are doing it on stage as well, so I've tried to change my arms positions. I'm maybe thinking about getting a cigarette prop. As researching into the 70s, this is quite a prominent thing for people to have. It was more of a fashion accessory rather than a sort of addiction thing. So I'm thinking maybe getting a cigarette, and that will stop me from crossing my arms and that kind of thing, which I think was probably be a good thing. But yeah, I mean, I looked into improvisation skills that would help me do this, and then I slipped into the kind of the crossing of the arms, which I thought maybe isn't the best. So I think that's something I need to be aware of within my performance as well as the crossing of the arms, because that blocks people out as well, and it actually sends a kind of negative attitude towards an audience. I don't know, that's just how I feel, but yeah. But in next week, I'm probably going to be able to get a lot more from the sort of feel, and then next week I'm gonna do the sort of next sort of Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I want to do my final experimental stage, and then I can look into the real definite point of the character and getting ready for performance. CPD log evidence. So today we had the first rehearsal in the theatre. It did go really well. We did 3 runs in total today. The first run itself was quite interesting, as we were less focused on the characters and more about the set, because that was the first time we've actually ever rehearsed in the set, and looking at things like the depth of the stage, and then scene changes and things like that. So that was definitely something that was interesting, but also quite informative to me, because then I can now focus more on my character and not worry about the set. The second run was, I think, the best of the 3 that we did. I felt it was really energetic. We picked up a lot of pace, and because of the way the comedy is written, it's all done through pace, and the naturalism acting then works with the pace of the comedy, and they work hand in hand, and it becomes a funny, energetic piece, which I felt I gave a lot of that today, which I was really, really happy with. But the third run, I think where we've become a bit tired at this point, but everyone's still trying to give it some, it was really good up to the point of after just a couple of scenes into Act 2, the energy just completely dropped, so it became stale almost. And because of that, the comedy dropped, and then people weren't really focusing on the naturalism in the acting, so I've taken that on board, so I know not to get sort of it's a hard one, because I know I shouldn't drop energy on stage and everything, especially not in naturalism as well, because although it looks simplistic, there's a lot of hard work going into it to ensure that it does keep to the naturalistic style of the theatre. So looking into the improvisation techniques that I used today for my voice and movement. So for my voice, the Liverpool accent I felt was actually quite good today. I found that the more I projected, the more easier the Liverpool accent was to produce. So I used things like things like projection, and then really looked into the in-depth ways of projecting, and because of the slight twang in the accent, I could really pick up the projection, and that because of the projection that really helped pick up the twang, which I felt helped to create a more grounded and stable accent, which was really, really good. Movement wise, I felt my character it's becoming alive a lot more because of the way I'm moving. I'm thinking less about the way I'm walking now and the way that my character is actually thinking, which is true to the naturalistic style and the techniques that we use. And so because of that, I felt that my improvisation techniques towards movement was really, really good. There was one point today where I had to... there was a point in the play, should I say, that I have to write on a piece of paper, well, on the wall, and because of that, I've looked into the ways I can really create detail, because my character is really artistic, so I wanted to find a way in which he would hold the pen, or how he would look at his art. So there's a couple of times where I have to step back and I look at the art, because that's what I feel like, because Cav is an artist, I feel like he would step back and look at his work, so because of that, that's why I did that. But all in all, it was a really, really good rehearsal, and I think next time I'm looking at the tech run, so I won't be able to sort of focus down character because more for costumes and set and lighting, but one aspect as well was the costumes today, and that really helped bring my character alive. I felt that they really looked, we all really looked the part, and because of that, it gave us an extra oomph on stage. One thing I suggested to the boys today is we should be a bit more laddie, and by that I mean we should create more stereotypical lad characters, as if they were really good friends and they had grown up together. And so because of that, I felt that maybe I suggested to one of the other actors today that I maybe should get him in a headlock after he tells a joke, just to sort of keep it sort of energetic and animated in a way, but not to the point where it's too like commedia dell'arte or panto or melodrama. It is definitely still grounded in the foundations of being realistic and naturalistic, but so looking at more stereotypical characters I think would really help. So yeah, but the next rehearsal should be really good. CPD log evidence. So today we started and nearly finished the tech run, but for me it was a really, really good rehearsal to actually explore a lot more movement. I didn't think yesterday that I would have a lot of time to explore the movement that I did, and the sort of naturalistic style, but I actually did, because the more sort of time we had on stage gave me some more ideas, which was really, really good. Vocally as well, I'm getting louder as well. I did do my song today as well. I felt went quite well. I think I need to put a lot more movement to it though, so I might research into, because the original was done by Leo Sayer, so I might research into him and just see what his dance movements were like, that kind of thing, and then actually look at how he moves, so then I can sort of mimic that, because the point is to sort of mimic his style of singing and movement, so I should probably look into his sort of ways of moving. My improvisation skills as well, I thought were quite good as well. Like, the more we're running it, the more new ideas are coming out of it. I still stand by my my comment last time about that the lads should be more laddie and more stereotypical boys. I still stand by that, so I think tomorrow I'm gonna see how I improvise that, and see how that really intertwines with the naturalistic acting, which I think could be a good thing, especially for my character as well, because my character's definitely one of the guys, but he's on the outside, he's more of an artistic person. He expresses his inner sort of personality through art, and that's through his names and things, so there is still quite a lot of artistic expression through him, but he's still very much one of the lads. So I still think that there could be more points where we could push each other or just be a bit more together. I think that the connection for the boys could be a lot more connected. So I really think I should look into that, definitely. But as a whole, the whole rehearsal was really good. I thought it was really focused. The naturalistic side of it, I felt, was really good. And I am now, like I said before, beginning to really get a grounded character, which is what I was first worried about in the first rehearsal. Was thought that how am I going to make this character a lot less animated, because in the past I've had a lot of animated characters and not so down to earth, and so, but I think I found quite a grounded character at the moment, which is really good, and something that is beginning to look a lot more naturalistic rather than animated, so I am really happy about that. But again, the one thing I want to improve on is my movement for my Leah Sayer song, but I'll assess that tomorrow and I'll see where I get with it. CPD log evidence. So today we did a run of the show, and then we went in to do scene studying. Now, the run of the show, I feel, went not as good as it could have. There was no energy, there was no pace, because I know pace is the most important thing. And because it's naturalistic acting, some people were stumbling over lines, and we can't stumble over lines due to the really hard-driven sort of lines, the ways that it's all sort of put together, and the structure of the play. We can't exactly ignore the lines. It's not like pantomime where you can improvise. It has to be stuck to the script. But yeah, there was no energy of it at all. All the scenes were just dying, and it wasn't the best run. If I'm being perfectly honest, it was the worst run I've ever done. But when we came back, we then went into scene studying, and we analysed each and every scene individually to work out how we can make it better, how you can make it funnier, and how you can make it more naturalistic without going too over the top with the comedy. As soon as we decided that the lads need to be more drunk, we need to be more rough and tough, as I've been saying from ages, but I don't think we've actually had the chance to do that, which is why we haven't had the chance to do it at all. So today, we should have done it a couple of weeks ago to make it better, but we just said, right, so we need to be more rough and tough, we need to be more drunk, and we need to be more energetic, and everything needs to flow a hell of a lot quicker. And once we did that, I actually found a new character, which is really weird, because I'm going to stick with this character now, because I think this Cav, obviously I still have my personality traits, and I felt like before I had the foundations of Cav, but now I've actually got the sort of techniques in order to bring him to life and bring him to stage. There was a scene with Eddie where Eddie has a go at me, and before I just kind of stayed in one place. Today, as I'm a bit drunk, I got a little bit in his face as well, and I also got I also moved around the stage a lot more, which felt more natural than just standing there. So for me, because obviously the naturalistic acting side of it, I really did look into then how I could use that as a way of as a way to sort of develop and analyze my character, really. But all in all, it was amazing. It was just, the energy was just there, and it was just a chance for us to really engage with each other as well, which I found as well a new relationship form with Billy, who's one of the other characters. Now, in my character profile, I felt that Billy isn't my closest of the friends of all of them, but in fact today I think I found out that he is a lot more of a good friend to Cav than a lot of them, really, which is strange, because obviously before I thought he didn't, but now, using the naturalistic acting and the techniques like improvisation, I could really study that, and Billy and I just hit off, really, which is really good. So, but next rehearsal, I think I'll big it up even more, but obviously without going too over the top. But I think we didn't analyse the last couple of scenes, so that'll be interesting to see how everyone feels about that. But definitely I should look a lot more into using improvisation as a way to really really discover who my character is about. CPD evidence. So I've just finished our last rehearsal that we think it's going to be for the week due to snow, but it was a really, really good rehearsal today. We got lots of work done. It's a difficult one because obviously we didn't use the full day to prepare for the performance, and we are going to lose out on 2 days, but because of that I'm going to utilise that time to make sure that I know exactly what I'm going to do for next week, so I'm fully prepared mentally and physically as well for the next week, because next week is performance week, so it's going to be a long week, but it's also going to teach me a lot as well, and it's really going to put my skills to the test. Because I've had a lot of time to do that, I've created a character profile on Cav to really understand the more naturalistic elements that made him who he is and why he acts the way he does. So I'll just go through it really quickly. So I've named him Clav Clementine. I felt like Clementine was a nice name to call him because he really is quite a loving person and wants to prove his love to everyone. So I think that's quite a nice sort of name to give him. I've got him as age 21. He's quite young, but I think a lot of them are, especially at the times in the 1970s as well. People got married quite young, than nowadays where people are getting married in the sort of 30s or 40s. So personality traits, I've written, Cav is genuinely a loving person, but yet underestimated when frustrated, but still has a good heart. He is endlessly putting others before him and would like everyone's friend if he had the chance. He's incredibly artistic and uses his talent to wow girls and clubs, but he also uses this as a creative way to stop him becoming angry in challenging situations. Cav is endlessly forgiving his friends when they are making stupid decisions and will aim to try and resolve solutions. Even though he may not be the most confident and headstrong in the lads, he may also appear as the weakest. His attention to detail and awkward social anxiety allows him to become scared by social interactions, even though he enjoys talking to people. He is interested in art, fashion, football and nature. His star sign is Pisces. This is due to his creative nature, but if hurt too many times will become frustrated. Although one of the youngest of the group, he's also the most mature and will use his maturity as a way to overcome problems. He is also loyal and will defend all his friends to the end. Will do anything for a Chinese takeaway. He also is incredibly romantic. So that's what I feel he's a nice guy, Cav. He really is. And I mean, if I was at college, right, where if I was in performance mode right now, I would try and answer these questions. Well, these things that I've put in as who I as first person, because obviously the whole method acting technique to naturalistic acting is what I'm trying to use within rehearsals and performances, so I am questioning myself as first person, but for now I'm going to talk about him as third person. So, but he is the youngest of the group, but I think because he's so mature and because he understands everyone's needs, he does look sort of beyond what people say and just try and really decipher what they really mean, to be fair. I've said he has social anxiety. Now, it's not a strong form of social anxiety, but it's enough to make him want to leave social interactions with people. That's why he does art, because he finds it's a way of releasing this as a creative release, really. Relationships, I've said that Cav is everybody's friends. Due to his likes to keep his friends close and his enemies closer. His most loyal friend is Robbie, who will stick by him in any situation. Billy is also one of his close mates, but will use his humour to belittle him, as Cav feels sometimes he undermines him on the football pitch. Cav thinks Eddie is the only person he has to prove his friendship to. Dave will always make Cav laugh and thinks that Dave has to far go in life before marrying, but he won't say anything. His dad and his mother had a really good relationship with his mum, to be fair, but his dad, I feel, walked out on him when he was quite young due to the fact that Cav was more interested at younger in his arts and his more creative side, and because his dad was quite democratic and quite strong views about he's quite well. I think his dad was quite sexist, so a guy should be a guy and a woman should be a woman. There's no in between. So he walked out because he thought that maybe his son was being too gay, I guess. But he really, but that didn't stop Cav to doing what he wanted. So because Cav feels too strongly about the way he is. His history has said that Cav was born in Blundersons by the docks in Liverpool and has stayed there through his whole life. His mother introduced him to art as a creative release to his anger, because when he was young he used to have really bad anger issues, but because of his art he's had more time to really carry that through. His father left him at the age of 9, and because he had to support his mother, then the maturity came out, which is why he's, yes, the youngest of his group, but the most mature. At school, he was incredibly in love with Maureen, who's in the girl group, but she actually let him down a couple of times, so he felt that maybe that wasn't going anywhere, and he still likes her a lot, but that's just something he has to deal with. He enjoys watching football, and this is where he met all the friends. He's had no interaction with them until he met them all at football club, but he's never had really any good friends before, so that's why he's taken his friends on, which is at football, which is why he's there tonight. But all in all, Cav is an amazing character to play. He's calm, he's collective, he's creative, he's also very compassionate, but he will not engage in activities that he doesn't think are right. He has to go along with it due to the fact that he feels so strongly about his mates and doesn't want to lose them. He will go along with it. That's why in the scene where Peter gets beaten up by Eddie, he really takes a step back. And I've tried to show that within the depth of the stage as well, and because of his surroundings and that, especially with naturalistic acting as well. He's influenced by his surroundings. So, but yeah, I will. I'll do another log on Monday to see how that run went, and I'm going to put all these little elements that I've now discovered about him into my performance. CPD log evidence. Today we did a run through of the show, and then straight after we did a last bit of scene study just before tomorrow on the performance, because the last couple of scenes are a bit less energetic and it has to be energized and it's lost its flow. So, but all in all, the performance, the rehearsal we gave today, we actually did it to an audience today. We did get a few laughs, which is good because it's comedic, but we can still push the comedy. We can still push the naturalism working with the comedy to ensure that it's funny, but it doesn't become too over animated. It got to the point today where I was actually sort of really in my head about where I was in the character, that I could actually smell the actual bar, which seems really weird, but it worked and gave my character then a sense of an even bigger presence of where I was, and to work alongside that of naturalism, it really did help to place where my character is and where I am at that certain time. The scene study, obviously, it needs to be. It was between another two actors, but I gave a lot of feedback and a lot of direction as well, which I was quite proud about, which was good. But this scene is all about violence and quite threatening behaviour, and I felt it wasn't violent enough, so I did pitch in and say a different way of doing that, and which was Eddie and Linda. He's always had his sort of his hand up to her throat with a knife and threatening her. Now the two actors have said that they don't feel it's threatening enough, so they asked for everyone's opinion, and I gave the opinion and example of holding her up to a mirror and looking at her in the mirror. And as soon as that became, before they rehearsed that, they said to me that felt a lot more natural to what their characters would do, which is really good. And I'm glad I could help and push the energy for that. Obviously the show is tomorrow. I do feel performance ready. I think having an audience in with us will lift it as well. And I will ensure that I use a vocal warm up as well. I'll record myself doing a vocal warm up, and I will also do little things backstage before entering, so it's a natural flow. So it's not just stepping out on stage then you're in character. You're stepping onto stage already in character. But yeah, I mean, we'll see how tomorrow goes for performance. We do have a couple of dress runs before, so we can really do some final bits. There's still some costume issues, but my costume's fine. Everything's ready for tomorrow, so yeah, it should be good. CPD log evidence. So I'm just about to go to bed, and obviously tomorrow is the next rehearsal. But this log is dedicated specifically for my warm up. I've been doing warm-ups all week, ready for the performance. I haven't been doing massive ones, but before rehearsals I've done a vocal warm-up and a small physical warm-up. The physical warm-up just consisted basically of just a couple of stretches, mentally getting into character, looking at the naturalistic style and how you can prepare for that mentally, and also and physically, obviously. I've talked about that, but yeah, vocally I was doing some vocal exercises. But tomorrow, about an hour before the performance, I'm going to do a physical warm-up and a vocal warm-up, and then about 10 minutes before I go on stage, I'll do a mental one. And I'm just going to talk quickly about the things that I'm going to do within that warm-up. So to prepare physically, I'm going to probably do a basic dance warm-up, just to make sure my body's loose, because obviously keeping in with the naturalistic style, you have to make sure that your body's not tense, and it's not rigid, so you're free to move on stage. So what I will do is loosen up the whole entire body, probably by doing some few stretches, and then doing like some hamstring stretches, and then some arm stretches. Then I might do about 5 minutes on core exercises, and that also can then keep in with the breathing side of it as well, which is another important factor of naturalistic acting, is to make sure your breathing's controlled. But the core exercise will definitely help with that. I should probably do some head turns as well, and maybe about a 5 to 10 minute HIIT exercise, which is a fast-paced one that's just getting your heart rate warmed up and your blood circulation going, and all of that will help to focus me as well, which helps with the mental warm-up. But the vocal warm-up, I'll use techniques like sirens, articulation warm-ups, some tongue exercises, some lip exercises as well, and that just makes sure that all my vocal cords are perfectly working, and that everything's ready to go for vocally, and make sure that it's all loose as well. I should ensure that I drink lots of water tomorrow as well, because to keep my voice hydrated will ensure that it doesn't go on the stage because obviously we're going to have to project to a loud audience, so we don't have mics here. I mean, we've got 2 shotgun mics, but we probably need to just make sure that we definitely project still, so keeping my voice hydrated as well is probably a good factor. But doing little things like humming, and then tongue exercises, and then lip exercises, humming, different things will help to keep my character in sort of in tune in a way. I have to mentally prepare as well, but I will do that before I go on stage. And to make sure I do that, what I was going to do is, I've been doing it in rehearsals, but I basically think about, okay, what is my character thinking before I go on stage? where is he? He's just coming out. It's obviously, if I go on stage, I've just come out of the club. So what has he been doing in the club? Has he been dancing? What has he been drinking? And then what has he been drinking? So then you can get the different sort of factors, and then you can really focus down into your character, know where your character is, to then prepare off stage already on character. So it's not just a step on then go in. It's already you're in character. I'm stepping onto stage, but it's another part of where my character is. So it's not there. It's not like a split location. It's a sort of constant flow to keep the character going. So that's how I'm going to mentally prepare as well. I might do I might do some, again, like I said, breathing techniques to keep a relaxation as well, which should be good as well. But I think all of those factors will help me to mentally, physically, and vocally prepare, which will be which will keep my character natural as well. So.